on the stream itself. So, hey YouTube, everybody's been waiting. I'm so sorry. Looks like we had our configuration a little bit wrong on the stream. So for folks who are tuning in now, we'll make sure that on the community meeting notes, we have a link to the actual the full video. You missed the demo and the discussion, but we will maybe we could just go live again later today. Pretend like it's not daylight savings time. Okay. Well,
You have enough time. You can just redo the whole meeting in turbo mode. You know, like, do you want to just give a quick 2-minute update? This is a fast one today.
no, that sounds like a lot.
I gotta go in 5 minutes. So I have another meeting, so I'm not gonna be here for it. So you do whatever you feel like you're gonna do, bud.
All right. Well, let's wrap I think let's wrap up the last discussion item, and then we'll just make sure we'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post. Sorry to the folks on YouTube. Okay. So the last discussion item that I had for today is just around KubeCon EU. So there are a couple of different awesome wasmCloud. If you look at Wasm on the KubeCon schedule, there's a ton of stuff that's coming across in the WebAssembly world here. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do not think that there is a Wasm co-located event at this KubeCon. But what we do have right before is WasmIO, a WebAssembly, an only WebAssembly conference, which will essentially be directly before KubeCon in Barcelona. So I think for all of the Wasm enthusiasts, you will want to go to the Wasm conference, and then at KubeCon, we would, I think, essentially be replaying a bunch of the same talks. So um,
We do have there are a ton of WebAssembly talks in like the main sessions. You know, WebAssembly has really been incorporated all across cloud native. So like I'll be speaking in the platform engineering track, for example, at regular KubeCon. Brooks, you have do you have a talk?
I do have a talk.
Yeah.
A talk
Uh,
in the maintainer track.
Yeah, and then Jonas is speaking twice. He's at the meshing with WebAssembly, taking Linkerd beyond containers, and then Spiffy in practice, universal identity for WebAssembly workloads. Bailey is speaking at WasmIO. Brooks, you've got Wasm Whiplash, wasmCloud's Wild Ride to Standards. And then I've got Can you maintain 1,000 apps? wasmCloud and Kubernetes, the ultimate golden template. And then at WasmIO, I have Don't Let Thousands of Apps Bite You, but it's like computer bite you. Okay, all right. It was clever in pre-production.
Are you gonna be there?
Taylor has the super fast tag runtime Wasm review, lightning trock, and also Wasm I right or Wasm I wrong, a review of the Wasm ecosystem maintainer track with David Justice. And that's us. And then there are some other WasmCloud talks. The Couchbase team is doing a WasmCloud workshop at WasmIO, which we're super excited about. Those folks are busy on WasmCloud Slack if you're not there, planning out their workshop and things like that. We'll have now that we're incubating, I think we have the WasmCloud booth open all week at KubeCon EU. So you can come by and see, I imagine, Brooks, Taylor, and Bailey over there. And Colin as well. And then over at the Cosmonic booth, there'll be a crew of us, slaving away. Cosmonic Control, it's our new product coming out. So we've got a lot of fun stuff.
Colin, I know that you asked in the WasmCloud Slack the other day about like where to publish a demo component. I think I'll actually have to double check. Since you're an org maintainer, you might have the ability to create repositories in the WasmCloud org. Feel free to do
Oh, yeah.
that. But if not, I'm happy to create one for you.
Yeah, I'll just it's been a little while. I've intentionally stayed away from Docker and OCI registries for quite a while. So gotta figure
You
it
know,
out.
GitHub packages has actually been pretty good. Like
Let's do
it's
that.
It's supported, yeah, I would say so. I mean, you can push it to Docker Hub too, but you can just, I mean, you can basically just wash push right to GitHub. And then uh all you need to do initially when you push a package for the first time is it'll be private so you can, make it public.
Mm. To which GitHub org? I guess I could do it to my own,
I think
but I don't
you're
know.
welcome. Yeah, you're welcome to just push it to your own. I think if you make I think you might just need to make a personal access token with permissions to write to the wasmCloud orgs packages, and you should have permission to do that.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
don't think there's a I've done for my talks at KubeCon, I've done like repos in my personal account, and then I've done some on the wasmCloud side before. It doesn't make a super huge difference because I think most people just end up scanning the QR code to look at it anyways.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Just for the talk, I just wanted like you could pull it down the component.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
All right. Cool.
so yeah, I'd say do whatever is easiest or best from your perspective there. If it ends up being something that we wanted to I think I'm getting ahead of myself in thinking, but if we wanted to use that component for like an integration test or something with
Oh yeah,
workload,
that'd be pretty cool.
whatever, then yeah, we could actually we could bring that in tree like in the wasmCloud repo, but uh
Mm.
we
Yeah.
could we
Well,
can do
you
that.
could at least put a reference to the URI.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That would be pretty good.
We good. All right. Yeah, thank you, Liam, for the overview on all the talks. Got a lot of fun stuff coming up. I don't oh, and he's gone. Great. Cool. Bye, Liam. Did folks have any other things? Actually, uh, show of hands, folks who are on the call. Who all isn't going to end up going to KubeCon EU? Taylor, nice.
I'm gonna miss you guys at WasmIO though. Except well, I guess Liam will be there.
Yeah, I think Liam should be there. I think Bailey might not be there.
Yeah, she might not.
Yeah, um, I will not be there. Sad to miss Barcelona. Should be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, since all of you folks watching at home could not raise your hand so that we could see it, if you are going to KubeCon EU in London, please feel free to hit us up in the wasmCloud Slack. Would love to, or you can just come by the booth.
Visit the booth. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Are you
yeah.
gonna give a wasmCloud? Are we gonna do this from the stage like last time?
I think that's fun.
Did people have fun with that last time? I think it was good. I mean, it was impressive.
I mean,
You were entertained.
I thought it was pretty funny. I mean,
Yeah.
and by the way, for anyone who's streaming this or watching it later, if you are a wasmCloud maintainer or heavy user even, and you're going to be at KubeCon EU, come make sure you join us when we have the wasmCloud booth. We'll try to let people know um, when
Or
we're
the Cosmonic.
gonna have it. Yeah, you can always come say hi to many of us at the Cosmonic booth, but also like the wasmCloud booth will have that, and we'll have some time also for wasmCloud at the Tag Runtime booth.
Oh
So,
yeah,
um,
that's right. Because we're a now that it's an official CNCF project, we're gonna have a wasmCloud booth the whole time, right?
well, we've had the CNC, we've always been an official CNCF project. Now we're
Or
incubating.
the incubating.
I think we get a bit more time. So anyway, just pointing it out that people, if you're going to be there and you're involved in the community, we'd love to have you there at those booths to help answer questions and interact with others.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll definitely do a I think we'll definitely do a community meeting from the floor. If it ends up working out so that I happen to be getting on stage at that exact time, that would also be cool, like the demo and the solutions showcase.
Yeah.
Next time I'll actually share my screen instead of Lachlan or Colin
No, it was
here.
me.
Yeah,
I think I shared it on my phone. I like
yeah,
pointed my phone at you.
that sounds right. It's like pointing your phone at your computer to take a screenshot, but we made it work.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, everyone. Well, are there any other, I think that's all that we had for our scheduled agenda. Are there any other topics that folks wanted to talk about from the wasmCloud community, app development, broader WebAssembly ecosystem that we should talk about today? Yeah, Masood.
Hey, Brooks, I have one quick question. For internal providers, do you observe any restrictions in terms of what they use? For example, I don't see them using the observability macro, and I'm tempted to use that. And I was wondering that is there something that I'm not aware of here? Like, are there some sort of restrictions in terms of what we can use for external one versus internal ones because they're part of host?
Yeah. So I don't think we put any restrictions on like what we can use. There definitely is there is some amount of, so when it comes to like tracing and trace propagation, there is some amount of um it being easier when it's an internal provider because trace propagation is automatically carried through like the function context. So in that sense, we don't need to call the propagate trace function um, in response to like a WRPC message to pull the context off of those headers, since we should already have that context internally. We'll have to check though. I want to make sure that you're not when I say that you're not missing anything, I want to make sure that we're not missing anything on having the traces connected. I think I remember the messaging nats built in propagating traces correctly. And does that one have the propagate trace macro, or does it just work?
Yeah. So in the HTTP server one,
Hmm.
and I have been looking at different crates, but so don't quote me, but I think it was there. There was a comment about add tracing, blah blah, right?
Okay.
And because I wanted to add tracing, I was, for the client one, I was thinking that there was a reason that macro was not used here. Like, should we use a different method, for example, like a function call or something directly to, if we want to pass, any information in the, tracing?
Yeah. Are you looking at was it this comment that you saw?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Okay. Yeah, so there are two different well, I don't know, there's like 40 different things when it comes to tracing. But in this example, what we're talking about, since the HTTP request, as far as wasmCloud is concerned, is like the origin of the request in the wasmCloud trace, we generally start the trace at this HTTP request. However, there there is a scenario where you're initiating the HTTP request from a different system where you have tracing enabled. So the to do here, which we should actually see this issue. Does this work? Hey, nice. Is it done? Um, I think this might be someone is working on this, but without getting sidetracked, what we really want here is if there is a trace context on the incoming request, then we want to actually create a new span as the wasmCloud HTTP handling in that same trace so that we can propagate it all the way from the outside system. So for HTTP client, I don't think you shouldn't need to do that, or you should be able to follow the messaging nats example for keeping the trace. But there is one more thing you can keep in mind. which I forget if this is, again, I forget if this is done, but this is another instance where we should essentially take the trace context and inject that into the HTTP header so that a system on the other end um, could get that trace context. Does that make sense? Am I just speaking
No,
crazy?
no, again, because I'm looking into these things, I understand what you're talking
Okay.
about. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I think we do it. I'm not 100% sure though. So please feel free to add me or something if
And I also saw in the HTTP server one that you're using the concrete kind of, well, a lower level than WRPC and from Wasm time, right? So I assume that I should follow same practice or not necessarily.
yeah, you should be able, so the HTTP server that's built into the host it is slightly different than the external one. But you should be able to follow the same practice in that we followed in the external HTTP client, like that was
Yeah,
using.
I'm trying to reuse as much code as possible. I was just wondering that if instead of, let's say, some of the WRPC types, I should go and look at the Wasm time crate types. You know, it has the concrete types behind WRPC types kind of thing.
Yeah. This might be this might be a little delicate because we ideally with the built-in HTTP client, we don't do, if possible, we don't need to do the translation into the WRPC interface. We should be able to go straight from the WASM.
That's
Uh,
what I'm doing. That's what
yeah,
I'm doing. I'm basically implementing the handler, let's say, right?
yep.
Without really resorting to going through WRPC to do that.
Hmm.
That's why I'm saying that I go one level lower than that, which is at the WASM time HTTP crate or whatever that called.
I see what you mean now. Yes.
WASI HTTP.
Yeah.
WASM and WASI HTTP crate.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. I think I've sorted it out in my own brain. Yes, that sounds right. We would probably want to use Wasm time HTTP or and slash WASI HTTP directly and translate that into really up to you if you wanted to turn that into request, which I think works pretty well, or using Hyper directly as a low level framework.
I saw that you have used Hyper, so I have not attempted to change that. I can go for request if you think.
Hyper is what is under request anyway. So I think for performance, we would have the most control doing it with Hyper. Um, so I think that's
I continue with Hyper.
yeah, I think that sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Masood. And please feel free if there's anything um that is starting to block you on that PR to open a draft PR and solicit some
That
feedback.
that NATS blobstore provider. Uh, is there anything else that I need to do for that? I'm not saying that it needs to be released because again, it depends on how soon users need it, and everybody can pull it off you know, the 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 PR and use it, as
Mhm.
some have been using. So it's not an issue. I was just wondering that if there is anything that I'm expected to do here.
I think the last time that we looked at this PR, there were just a couple of CI failures that were happening in main that were that were affecting your PR. I may um, I may reach out to you for a rebase. We're happy to do it. It would just rewrite the commit history to also have our like little name on it or whatever. But no, and thank you for the poke again. I think this is really just on us, Masood, to because I think you addressed all of my nits on the PR, and the only thing that we needed to do is address the Stack Overflow when you ran the tests, which was not your fault. It's on like the tracing crate. Um,
Yeah,
but
that by default is kind of disabled,
mhm,
and that's why you need to run it in debug mode to use that, right? But
right. The weirdest issue. It's so
but
strange.
basically, it eventually ties back into the conversation that we had some community meetings ago, and Taylor and you talked about the testing framework, right? I think at some point testing framework needs a bit of love, so we make sure that we have a good testing framework that we can utilize everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm iffy about what should I do for testing the internal bonus side from unit testing, right? I use it, I'm going to test it with components and those, but I'm just saying that like in terms of test framework sort of things, right?
Right. Yeah, we have the wasmCloud test util, but the integration with the provider SDK can definitely prove challenging for tests. Like I think we have a global object, so you essentially need to run one at a time, you know, it requires some hand holding. It is on our quarter one roadmap to revisit some of that stuff. So hopefully we can get to that. Um,
Yeah, I'm saying that like we should kind of, record them as technical debt, testing debt, or whatever we want. And once those improvements are made, then we can add them to, gradually into the quarterly plans and
yeah,
chip add and add them everywhere.
yeah, yeah. I think that makes sense.
Thanks.
Um, yeah. Thank you, Masood. All right, folks. Other topics, other questions? Alrighty. Well, thank you all for coming to wasmCloud Wednesday. Apologies for the initial hiccup on the stream to YouTube. Get that addressed and get the real video linked and all that fun stuff. Um, but I think that's it. So we will see you all next week for our regularly scheduled community meeting. We've got looks like 2 more weeks again before KubeCon. So those two should be, you know, those two meetings should be pretty normal. But then the KubeCon meeting we will probably be doing from the conference floor. So it'll probably just be a quick update. Everybody will wave and all that stuff. But we'll touch base on that a little bit later. All right, folks. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you all for coming. Have a WasmCloud day.